you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Livin the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here coming at you from beautiful sunny San Diego, and welcome back to the Livin the Dream podcast. And today we are throwing it back. On Throwback Thursday, we dive into some of the best episodes from the archives, packed with timeless strategies to help you crush your health, fitness, and wellness goals. These episodes might be from the past, but the lessons still hit hard today. Whether it's a mindset shift, a fitness tip, or a nutrition hack, this throwback is here to remind you just how far you've come and how much further you can go. This week on the podcast, we've been talking a lot about how to live your life like a video game, starting at level 1, earning experience points through training, paying attention to your body's dashboard, gamifying fitness, and of course, we'll talk about fueling your character the right way. So for this Throwback Thursday, I wanted to bring back an episode from the past that fits this theme in a really kind of fun way. So life is like a video game. What I want to talk about here are supplements. Supplements are kind of like your gear or your items or your inventory. And just like in games, not every item is worth picking up. Some things actually help your character perform better. And of course, some things are overhyped. Some things sound powerful. They look flashy. They have amazing marketing, but they end up doing basically nothing except draining your wallet. So in this Throwback Thursday episode, we're revisiting one of the questions that I get asked. Almost the most asked question I get right here is, what supplements are actually worth taking? What supplement should I take? In this episode, I break down the differences between supplements that are truly helpful, the ones that are science-backed and worth considering, versus the ones that are mostly hype. And just like I always say, supplements are exactly that. Supplemental. They are not the foundation. They are not the magic pill. They're not the cheat code. They are there to support the big rocks. The big rocks: your training, your nutrition, your sleep, your stress management, and of course, your consistency and your relationships. So if you've ever felt confused by the supplement industry, you're not alone. Welcome to the club. If you've ever been overwhelmed by marketing or tempted by some shiny new powder promising superhuman results, or the new big thing that everyone's talking about, then this episode is for you. Let's throw it back. All right, friends. So every single supplement conversation must start off with the huge important message that supplements are just that, supplemental. They are meant to supplement food, supplement performance, supplement and assist you in getting you to your goals only after you have dialed in all the big rocks. We could give you all the supplements in the world, and if you get zero sleep, or if you stress all day long, or if you're shoveling fast food into your mouth and not moving during your day, none of these supplements will have an impact. We want to crush those large pillars of health and get those dialed in. And then once we have those good health habits created and figured out, then we can start to sprinkle in the supplements to get us that 1 to 5% better and closer to where we want to be. There is no magic pill. And even if there was one, we would be missing out on all the wisdom that comes from learning about our bodies and understanding what works for us. If I told you that I had a pill that could automatically get you to your desired body fat percentage and make you look aesthetically how you wanted to, would you take it? Well, it's my goal in life to help explain to people that say, hell yes, I'm going to take that pill. It is my goal to help educate and show you that taking that pill would actually do way more harm than good. And I know what some of you are thinking right now. Yeah, I get it. Blah, blah, blah. Just give me the pill. And I get it. That's the way our society is set up right now. We want it fast. We want it easy. We want no time wasted. But haven't we learned by now that this is the wrong way to go about it? If you're looking for that magic pill, it comes in the form of those large pillars. Yeah, I know you're not going to want to hear this. Nutrition, movement, stress management, and sleep. Get those things figured out for yourself, and it will be way more impactful than any pill or powder could ever do for you. And then you can take this following information in this podcast and use it to bump you up to that next level. Also, it has to be emphasized that most of the supplements that I talk about today can be found in natural whole foods. In fact, I'll give you a list with each supplement at how you can get it from Whole Foods. Supplements that most people ask about are asking about compounds that are made by man in a lab or a factory. Some of these compounds are taken out of whole foods, and you should always explore trying to get your supplements from food first. And then you can dose your supplements accordingly when unable to hit that desired amount through the whole foods. So we're going to start off by narrowing down what type of supplements we're going to be talking about today. Most people who ask this question to me are looking for supplements when it comes to helping with their body composition goals or their performance goals when they're working out. So while there are going to be many supplements that we don't talk about that comes to improving your overall health, we are going to stick a little bit closer to the wheelhouse of which supplements to take before and after your workouts to help you with your workouts and your performance. This will be a 2-part episode. And in next week's masterclass episode, we can talk about health-based supplements, herbs, and the superfood compounds like mushroom supplements that will help improve physical health, brain health, mental performance, and overall lifestyle support. Just know that we're not going to get anywhere close to hitting all of the supplements out there. So I'd like to give you my top 5 supplements that I personally use and have been proven by science-backed studies, which is why that I use them, to be beneficial and efficacious to workout performance. So let's dive right in. Supplements that I love and have been proven to work. Number 1 on my list is also number 1 on our nation's list. One of the most used and maybe abused supplements out there is caffeine. Caffeine is the most used stimulant in the world. Some pros of caffeine are you have more energy and alertness. You actually have increased muscle strength through stimulating the nervous system to be able to help muscles bring more force. You get more endurance. Caffeine enhances vasodilation, which brings and helps blood flow, increasing your performance. And then also less muscle pain, which I didn't know at first until I started researching caffeine. When you're exercising, when you have caffeine, it puts your body in a more sympathetic state, and less pain equals more reps. More reps equal better results. Now, some cons with caffeine is that you can build up a tolerance to caffeine. I know a lot of people who drink multiple pots, not cups, pots of coffee in order for them to be able to get the energy that they once got from just one cup. This can be unhealthy in so many ways and is one reason why a lot of people cycle their caffeine. One way to do this would be to drink caffeine for a month and take a week off, and then repeat that. Another way to do it would be to take caffeine every other day, or to only take, it on your hard workout days, which is tough for most people considering that they need just at least 1 cup of coffee in the morning just to be functional in the real world. But just remember, just like most things, your body will adapt and it will build up a tolerance. As with most supplements and foods and activities, you're going to get the most out of these things if you cycle them throughout your months, years in life. Caffeine also can create jitters and anxiety. Some people are very sensitive to caffeine and can get weirded out by how spazzy it makes them. This really isn't the case for the majority of us because most of us have built up a base tolerance with our current lifestyles of consuming caffeine on a daily basis in the forms of either coffee, energy drinks, teas, pre-workouts, or other things of that nature. And another thing that could be a con of caffeine is that you can build up a dependence and then have withdrawals. Along the lines of tolerance, a huge con would be that you can build up that dependence if you ever go off of caffeine. The withdrawals can be kind of nasty. Headaches, nausea, irritability. Now you should really stop and think hard about anything in your life that gives you withdrawals when you stop them. I mean anything. Food, TV, significant others, any substances, you may want to consider its effects on your overall life, and it might be time to taper yourself down in order to get a more healthy relationship with that product. Natural sources of caffeine can be found in fruit, leaves, beans of coffee, cacao, and guarana plants. You can get caffeine naturally through black tea, green tea, matcha tea, black coffee, yerba mate, guarana berries, dark cacao chocolate. Yeah, that's right, I said it. 70% or more cacao. You'll get a little bit of caffeine there, or even kombucha. If you must supplement and you're looking for a quick, clean energy, especially if it's to start your day, I'm going to recommend the one caffeine supplement that I've used for about a decade now. And that's no joke. I think since I was in high school, I used to spend hundreds of dollars a year on pre workout powders. And I know millions of people who spend hundreds of dollars a month on coffee just to give them energy in the morning. But I have found a pill supplement that works really great for me. I haven't seen any studies on it, but I have used it habitually for years, and I've given it to clients of mine that also love it. It comes in a $6 bottle. It has 100 pills at 200 milligrams per pill. So just to put that into perspective, that's essentially 100 cups of coffee or 100 servings of pre-workout for $6. That's insane, right? You pay that for one coffee. If you quit drinking energy drinks, soda, coffee, and all the other things that we buy for energy and just took these pills, I bet you would save thousands of dollars a year that you could put towards a personal trainer or a gym membership or other aspects of your health that you haven't invested in for financial reasons. I'm going to include the link to this caffeine supplement from Allmax Essentials. It comes in this little blue bottle, and I'll include that link in the description of this episode. Again, I haven't seen any studies done on this supplement. I just know that it works for me. Super clean energy, no crash. I haven't noticed any withdrawals when I go off of it. And it's just stupid how inexpensive it is. Just don't buy it all because then you'll leave none for me, and I'd really appreciate that. And as far as dosing, everyone is a little bit different here depending on how sensitive you are. How much tolerance you've built up, and even the size of the person matters. For me, I'm 6'3", 185 pounds. I take half a pill, so 100 milligrams, 30 minutes right before training or right before coaching to give me a huge kick of energy. If I really want some energy, I'll take the full pill. Start small, see how you perform, and then make small changes until you find the right amount that works for you. I mean, we could do a whole episode on just caffeine, but let's move on for now. Next up on my list of top 5 supplements that I use and have been scientifically proven to work is number 2, creatine. Creatine is the most studied supplement in the world when it comes to increasing your lean body mass. More studies have been done on creatine than any other supplement when it comes to this topic, and it's not even close. Let's do a little creatine 101, and it might get a little sciencey here, but stick with me because I think it's important and it will set us up for why creatine is so beneficial and why I think you should take it. So what is creatine? Creatine is found mainly in skeletal muscle, and it's a combination of 3 amino acids, arginine, methionine, and glycine. And those 3 amino acids make up what we call a small peptide. Amino acids put together equal small peptides. Now, if we take a step back and say, what are amino acids? Well, amino acids are literally just smaller parts that get put together to make a protein, a structure. So we call amino acids the building blocks of protein. So you've maybe heard of things like branched chain amino acids or essential amino acids, BCAAs or EAAs. Well, these are the same things that build up smaller versions of what are called creatine. So when we look at those amino acids, we should think of those as the foundational pieces that build proteins. Like an animal protein, steak, chicken, fish, those individual parts are broken down when eaten and broken down into amino acids. So steak, chicken, fish, broken down after we eat them into amino acids. And these are some of the same parts that get broken down and then rebuilt into creatine in your body. So once they get broken down from the food, then sometimes in the body it gets built back up to create creatine in the body. So what and how does the body use creatine for? First thing we are going to look at is how it helps create this thing called a phosphate reservoir. And phosphate is an important thing to look at because when we look at energy in the body, it's really how we utilize ATP, the energy currency of the cell. I mean, phosphate is actually in the name, adenosine triphosphate, ATP. The P stands for phosphate. So the more phosphate we have circulating in our system, the more we can actually use that to create energy when we need it. The more we use up ATP, the more we need those phosphates to create a new ATP. So as we utilize this energy, the body is going to be looking for this phosphate reservoir to pull from in order to generate more needed energy. And that's where supplementing with creatine can really help build this phosphate reservoir for us to pull from when we actually need it. So again, creatine is a substance that turns into creatine phosphate in the body. Creatine phosphate helps make a substance called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. ATP provides the energy for our muscle contractions, and the body produces some of the creatine that we use. It also comes from the protein-rich foods and meat and fish that we eat. So why supplement with creatine if you can get it enough from the meat and fish in your diet? Well, here's where if you train frequently, especially with resistance training, you can really benefit from a supplemental powder or pill form. Supplemental creatine is actually more available for the body to use rather than the foods that you eat. Because, of course, the food has to be broken down into those amino acids and then rebuilt back into the creatine and then broken down into the phosphate that the body needs. So it's just those extra little steps. And it takes a while to access the creatine from natural foods because of those extra steps. Well, let's open up our view and ask ourselves, what do we want out of our performance supplements like creatine? We want to either run faster, jump higher, or lift heavier. And all of these things require ATP for energy. So with that perspective, having access to something that can help us make more ATP more readily, this is only going to help us with those performance goals. And supplementing with creatine phosphate is a tool that we can use that will help us get from point A to point B when it comes to where you're at now and where your fitness goals are and where you want to be. Creatine has also been found to decrease muscle soreness as well as decrease the amount of time it takes to recover from intense physical activity. I was going to share the links from some of the creatine studies that I found, but literally there are thousands of them. If you go to PubMed or Google Scholar and type in creatine, get ready to go down the rabbit hole of crazy amounts of studies. One common apprehension that comes up when talking about taking creatine is it's going to cause you to retain extra water. While creatine is an osmolyte, which means it pulls water with it wherever it goes, and remember, creatine phosphate is found in skeletal muscle. So many experts that I follow say creatine actually puts the water where you want it and not where you don't want it. By putting water into the muscle cell and having this hydrating effect on skeletal muscle, that in itself may be anabolic, which means more muscle growth, more muscle tone. So if a product says that their creatine doesn't retain water, well, then what they're saying is that their product essentially does not work. Water retention from creatine is a good thing. Muscle is made up of 75% water, of up to 75% water, and that's where the water belongs. So this should not be an apprehension of yours when deciding to take creatine or not. And the next step is figuring out, once you decide if creatine is for you, what kind do you take? Well, I've been tricked many times in life with good marketing and flashy advertisements, thinking that one form is better than the other. In fact, there are claims out there that one form is more pure than the other. Crealkaline, micronized creatine, platinum creatine. Don't get fooled like I did. Creatine monohydrate is the most studied, most efficacious, and even the cheapest form of creatine there is. Creatine monohydrate. That's the route you want to go. It's not going to make you feel bloated. It's not going to make you look like you're bloated or anything like that. You can purchase creatine monohydrate at almost any supplement store for like $20 for a 2 pound bag. And that's going to last you months. I don't have any preferred brand that I use. I would love to support local businesses, but for right now, I just buy it off of Amazon, the brand of creatine monohydrate that they have. If you know anyone personally that sells good quality supplements that I can support, and preferably local to the West Coast, I would love. I'm always down for that. And I would much rather purchase from someone that I know over big companies, but just let me know if you know anyone. And how much should you take? How much creatine monohydrate should you take? The dose amounts of creatine that have been used in studies is usually around 5 grams a day. You want to supplement with more if you're a larger human or if you're a vegan or a vegetarian. Seeing as creatine from diet and whole foods is from animal tissue. So if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, make sure that you do take a little bit more creatine. Some people say that you need to actually do a loading phase of creatine where you take 10 to 15 grams a day for like 1 to 2 weeks. And the thought process is that you build up this reservoir. But, you could just take the 5 grams a day for a little bit longer term, and that's kind of where I suggest that you do. I myself have never done a loading phase. I just take it consistently, and I personally don't cycle off of it either. I pretty much take it year round. If you do a loading phase, it may create some gastrointestinal distress, so just be ready for that, and do what works best for you. Next up on my personal top 5 supplements for performance and recovery is number 3, beta-alanine. Beta-alanine. If you're someone that likes to do high repetition work, anything over 8 to 10 reps per exercise for multiple sets, if you're someone that likes doing HIIT training, high intensity interval training, or heart rate based training, or group fitness workouts that have high intensity styles of training, then beta-alanine might be for you. I have taken beta-alanine for years. And almost all pre-workout supplements that you buy, like at GNC or bodybuilding.com, almost all pre-workout supplements have beta-alanine. I'm going to include a warning with this supplement, however. Beta-alanine has been found to have 0 negative side effects for health. However, beta-alanine is famous for making your skin tingle. A lot of people I've trained hate that tingly feeling. A lot of times it tingles in the sensitive areas like your face and your hands, but I actually really enjoy this feeling. So that's the only caveat with taking beta-alanine. Otherwise, it has been shown to be very safe. Beta-alanine is a non-essential amino acid, meaning that it is produced naturally in the body. So non-essential amino acid, it's produced naturally in the body. Beta-alanine aids in the production of carnosine. Carnosine is a compound that plays a role in muscle endurance and high-intensity exercise. So beta-alanine is marketed as a way to enhance sports performance and endurance. Some specific scientific evidence backs this use. It is important to note that the studies done on beta-alanine have been in smaller sample sizes and not super conclusive results. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt and, use it and see if it works for you. Here's how it's said to work. Muscles contain carnosine. Higher levels of carnosine may allow the muscle to perform for longer periods before they become fatigued. So carnosine does this by helping to regulate the acidic buildup in the muscles, which is a primary cause of muscle fatigue. And we kind of talked about this in episode 1 of why you get sore or what is that feeling right when you're working out. However, a review of studies of the beta-alanine supplement shows that it doesn't increase muscle strength or aerobic endurance. Instead, it actually appears to slightly increase the amount of time an athlete can perform these high-intensity exercises, such as weightlifting or sprinting, before they get exhausted. So more time able to do these exercises mean that you can squeeze out just those few extra reps and those few extra minutes. So if you're looking for that small increase or boost in your endurance, beta-alanine might be for you. How much do you take, though? Well, you can get beta-alanine from foods that contain carnosine like meat, fish, poultry, especially white meat found in like chicken breast, or through supplements. The recommended dose is 2 to 5 grams daily. Although be careful if you take more because excessive amounts may cause a more intense tingling in the skin. It's completely harmless, just very, very agitating to some. Again, beta-alanine is considered to be safe and effective supplement to boost exercise performance. Next big player for me in my top 5 is something that we definitely have to talk about in podcast of supplements. And that is number 4, protein powder. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this one. Here's a huge caveat. No protein powder, no protein shake, no protein supplement can make you lose weight. I get so many people coming to me asking me about what protein powder to take to lose weight. Weight loss is the result of proper diet and exercise. Protein supplementation is just one factor that you can use to help you dial in one of those huge pillars of fat loss. Let's take a little tangent here from supplements and talk about overall protein intake. Now, when it comes to your fat loss goals, we have to talk about why you should definitely be aware of your protein intake and why it is the most important macronutrient, whether or not you're cutting, you're maintaining, or you're bulking for muscle gain. And this is in my opinion, of course, and from the experts that I follow. Whatever you're doing when it comes to your body composition, protein should be something that you're aware of. Research shows that high protein dieting beats low protein dieting in almost every way, especially when you are restricting calories to lose body fat. This is because eating adequate protein helps you lose fat and maintain your muscle mass, as well as even build muscle mass in some people that are new to body composition training. Now, it does get harder to lose body fat and gain muscle mass the further you get into your training career. But when you're new, or as we like to say, have those newbie gains, this is definitely one of the benefits of being a newbie. You can lose fat and gain muscle at the same time. Studies also show that high protein diets help you recover faster from intense training and any intense workouts. They help you feel fuller and more satiated, which makes you less likely to overeat and stick to your healthy dieting. This is super important, right? Because you could be on the best diet plan in the world specifically for you, but if you're not consistent with it, then it doesn't even matter. Hey, I have the world's best dietitian and I'm paying thousands of dollars for an individualized meal plan that is perfect for me and my microbiome and my hormones and my fitness goals. Now I'm going to go eat some Taco Bell and drink a half gallon of tequila. Yeah, it doesn't matter what plan you have if you are not consistently adhering to it. Anyway, back to protein. I digress. Now let's talk about the protein dietary guidelines. Right now, most official nutritional organizations recommend a fairly modest protein intake. The DRI, or the daily reference intake, is about 0.36 grams of protein per pound of body weight. That's less than a half a gram of protein per pound of body weight. So this amounts to 56 grams of protein for the average sedentary male, 56 grams of protein for the average sedentary male, and 45 grams of protein for the average sedentary female, 45 grams. Now, I'm here to argue that if we're looking to lose body fat, and what most people do is they increase the amount of training that they do, and they decrease the amount of calories they are consuming. And I argue that if you're going to do that, protein is going to be extremely important for you, because if you do not give the body the building blocks to repair the muscle damage you're doing from your increased training and to maintain the muscle that you have, sure, you're going to lose weight. That's what happens when you burn more than you consume. However, you're going to be losing precious muscle tissue, which in turn lowers the amount of overall calories you burn just being alive, also called your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. So when you lose tissue, your BMR drops. And the lower your BMR, the harder it is for you going forward to lose all that body fat. An extreme example here is if we look at the contestants on the show The Biggest Loser. I don't know if you've seen this, but they lose hundreds of pounds in a very short amount of time. It is impossible for all that weight to be just body fat. Once they finish the show, they are now hundreds of pounds lighter. However, when they started the show, let's throw out some arbitrary numbers here just to prove my point. Their BMR, their basal metabolic rate, what they burn just being alive, could have been, let's say, 2,000 calories per day. But now, because they've lost all that precious muscle and they have slowed their metabolism down, because essentially the body thinks it's starving, so it's going to stop all the processes in the body that aren't vital, because it's essentially turning itself into low power mode. Like when your phone is about to die, it's going to go right into a low power mode to save the small amounts of battery that it has left. Now, these people, they shouldn't want their body in low power mode, because that means that their BMR now drops from that theoretical 2,000 calories a day to, let's say, 1,100 calories a day. That's 900 calories less. That means that in order for these people to maintain that huge weight loss, they now have to eat a lower 1,100 calories a day. And if they go over, which of course they will, that's such a low calorie amount. You can't stay under that for the rest of your life. They're going to gain all that weight back, which I believe the stat from the show is like 90% of contestants actually regain back more weight than they actually started. And it might not be 90%, but it's a very high number. And in contrast, a very few of these contestants are able to keep that weight off long term. It's got to be less than 10% of them. What a lot of the experts that I follow suggest, and what I coach people to do, is that you want to shoot for up to 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight that you are. And 0.7 to 1 gram of protein is actually really challenging to do. For me, I weigh 185 pounds, and 185 grams of protein is really hard for me to hit by eating whole natural foods. If a person can maintain a calorie deficit, meaning that they eat less than they burn, which can be found in a lot of different ways, but the only real true way to know is to track your calories for at least 2 weeks, oftentimes much longer, like a month, and see if you're gaining, maintaining, or losing weight. Only then can you know for sure what the calorie amount is actually a deficit for you. And that takes a lot of time, a lot of trial and error, and definitely a commitment when it comes to tracking. So it's no wonder that very few people are able to know their maintenance calories or their deficit calories. Anyways, if you can eat in a calorie deficit, hit your protein intake of 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, I can almost guarantee that you will lose body fat, maintain muscle, and get closer to your body fat loss composition goals. Once you get your protein intake, you can just vary up your carbs and your fats to fill up the remaining amount of your calories. That's one strategy, and that's the strategy I like best. A little side note here is if you are currently obese, you may have to shift these numbers a little bit. It would be really silly to assume that a 5'5" female who is obese at, let's say, 250 pounds to eat 175 grams to 250 grams of protein. That is way too much to eat on a daily basis, and is most likely not helping them eat in a calorie deficit either. If this is you, I recommend that you start by eating your protein at 30% of your daily total calories. So if, let's say, you eat 2,000 calories a day, 30% of that protein would be around 150 grams of protein. The math on that is if you have 2,000 calories times 0.3, that equals 600 calories that you can eat via protein. Divided by 4, because there's 4 calories per gram of protein, and that equals that 150 grams, which is still pretty tough to eat, right? But at least it's not 250. That shifts the protein to around 1 gram of protein per pound of lean mass. And that's in the obese person, right? Remember, lean body mass is simply everything that is not fat, including your bones, your organs, your muscles, ligaments, tendons, fluids, etc. As you get leaner, though, you'll want to increase your protein relative to your total body weight. So let's bring this all the way back to the topic of this episode, and that is protein powder supplementation. Thanks for going on with me on that tangent. So how can protein powder supplementation help us with our goals? Again, most people that I work with here are looking to lose body fat and quote unquote tone or increase their muscle mass. Again, protein supplementation alone is not a weight loss supplement, period. There is nothing in any protein product that is going to help you magically burn more body fat. Let's be really clear here that if you do not take any supplements to lose body fat and achieve the body compositions that you want, you can still attain those goals. Supplements are, again, supplemental. You do not have to take them to lose body fat. The real reason you should consider taking a protein powder when you're cutting or trying to lose body fat is because eating enough protein from the whole foods can be very super challenging, especially if you're not used to eating that much protein in the past. A protein shake is really easy because all you have to do is add a scoop to your water and then you can just chug it down. Whereas eating the amount of protein that it takes from a chicken breast to get the amount of protein that you need, that might make you uncomfortably full with the same amount of protein that it takes to get from, let's say, a powdered shake. And this is where I totally support supplementation, because if you're forced to eat all whole foods to get your protein intake, or you have a hectic schedule that makes it really hard to bring food with you everywhere you go, then you're doing something that you hate doing, and you're going to dread doing it, stuffing your face, and eventually you're going to fall off. And remember, consistency is how we are going to reach those fitness goals. Consistency is key. Now, there's some useful criteria to use when buying protein powders. One of the things that I like to look at is the relationship of protein to calories. A good rule of thumb is that 80% or more of the calories should come from the protein in the powder. Remember, there are 4 calories per gram of protein. So if you take the amount of protein, times it by 4, you should get the total calories from that protein, and that number should be about 80% or more of the total calories per serving. Then you're sitting pretty without getting too much of the extras that a lot of the different companies will throw in there as fillers. The 80% rule is mostly for animal-based proteins, which are whey and casein protein. So whey protein and casein protein are the animal-based proteins. But as far as plant-based proteins go, those are always going to have a higher percentage of fat, carbs, fibers, and other ingredients mixed in. So if you're going to use the plant-based protein like pea, rice, or hemp, you want to follow the rule of around 50 to 60% of the calories coming from protein. It will definitely be lower than the animal-based proteins of whey and casein. An ingredient to be on the lookout for is glycine. Glycine is a filler compound that makes it seem like there's more protein in the product when it is tested for the protein amount. So avoid powders heavy in glycine and be on the lookout for protein isolate. Protein isolate is an isolated version of protein and a higher quality. You may pay a little bit more for it, but you have a higher chance of getting a good product if you stay away from the glycine and look for the powder that has protein isolate in it. And lastly, the protein powder that you're going to choose should most definitely be the one that you enjoy. It shouldn't be something that you have to choke down. If you buy a protein powder that is god awful, then move on to the next product. There are so many different kinds out there, and a lot of them taste like garbage, but some of them actually have a really nice, smooth, easy, digestible, almost milkshakey vibe to them. Just be aware of the sugar content as well. If you can find a good protein powder that tastes good, has the right protein content, the right calorie amount for you, and is low in sugar, then you've nailed the right protein powder for you. Let's do a quick overview of the main 2 different types of animal proteins. First is whey protein. Whey protein comes from milk and is known for its great muscle building and muscle recovery properties because it is high in the amino acid leucine, Leucine, leucine. This is the protein that has been found to be fast-acting and fast metabolizing. Most fitness fanatics will have a whey protein shake immediately after working out to help rebuild the muscles that they broke down during their session. But remember, you want to supplement according to your specific goals. It was once believed that there is a golden 30-minute window that you have to get your protein in right after a workout. And while there is a little bit of science to it, I'm just saying if your goal is muscle mass gain and you've already had the body fat percentage that you want, then yes, from what I've researched, go ahead and drink your protein shake right away, right after you work out. Get it in quick. However, if your goal is body fat loss, if you want to lose the body fat before you really start packing on the muscle, a lot of articles and studies that I've read actually show the benefits of waiting to consume any food or calories for a little bit longer so you can reap the benefits of a revved up metabolism that is burning off some of your stored fuels. There's a little controversy here. So again, do what works best for you and experiment. If you want my opinion here, I say if you're not super hungry after your workout and you're looking for fat loss, go ahead and extend the amount of time before your next meal. If you're looking for straight up muscle mass gain, you want to get that protein in immediately after training to stop the body from breaking down and start it rebuilding, going from catabolic to anabolic. Look for about 20 grams of leucine-rich protein per serving or more if you can. 20 grams of protein per serving or more if you can. Next is casein protein. So we had whey and now we have casein. Another option that comes from milk that is different type of protein and it digests a little bit slower than whey. You'll find that the people tend to take casein protein right before bed because casein is slow burning. A lot of people that are looking to put on muscle will drink casein protein within about 30 to 45 minutes of going to bed. And as it digests slowly, taking about 6 hours to fully process and digest, the muscle building signals in the body will be turned on as it digests this casein slowly throughout most of the night. That's kind of the theory behind this. Whereas if you hadn't consumed protein, the body would be missing out on protein until later the next day when the time comes that you eat your next protein-rich meal. Now, it doesn't have to be casein powder to do this. Remember, we are trying to eat whole foods first, and then you can supplement with powders and pills afterwards. So if your body can handle it, a great food that is rich in casein protein would be something like cottage cheese or Greek yogurt. These are the most popular whole foods that contain casein. So to spell it out for you guys, whey is W-H-E-Y, fast acting, fast metabolizing, and casein is C-A-S-E-I-N, slower metabolizing protein. And then lastly would be the plant-based protein powders. If you're interested in going the plant-based route, I have a recommendation. The plant-based protein that I take and that I love is from a company called NTRL Nutrition, Natural Nutrition, NTRL Nutrition. They make an all-natural, organic, non-GMO, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, soy and peanut-free, filler-free, high-quality protein. Yeah, they are crazy awesome. This company was created here on the West Coast, and I know the founder well. I support this company big time, and my favorite flavor is chocolate cure, but they also have salted caramel. If you're interested in going this route for your protein, then go to the website NTRL Nutrition, all one word, ntrlnutrition.com, and use the discount code DAMEDOLLA to save 15% off your entire order. That's DAMEDOLLA, all one word, DAMEDOLLA, to save 15% off your entire order. And let's move on to number 5 on my top 5 supplements for performance and recovery. Number 5 is L-glutamine. L-glutamine is an amino acid. Amino acids can exist on their own, or they can be put together to make up their own protein strands. L-glutamine is the most common amino acid found in your muscles. Over 61% of the actual skeletal muscle structure is made up of L-glutamine. There are many functions of L-glutamine, but the main reason I started taking glutamine was for muscle recovery. I can say the words muscle recovery, but that really doesn't do this supplement justice. Check this out. Not only are your muscles made of L-glutamine, but it also circulates throughout your entire body in your blood. There are several types of cells in the body that rely on glutamine as their energy source so they can function properly. It also plays a big role in transporting nitrogen throughout your body, which is really important if you start to prioritize protein in your diet and you start to increase protein in your diet. It is also notable that glutamine helps support and fuel lymphocytes, which are crucial for your body's immune system. L-glutamine is also used by the brain to create neurotransmitters and other specific acids for the brain. Now, L-glutamine is a non-essential amino acid, which again means that it can be made in the body without consuming it through your diet. Whereas essential amino acids, EAAs, can only be obtained through your diet. As I was researching this supplement, I found out something extremely interesting. The reason L-glutamine is classified as a non-essential is because of the way that it is made in the body. And under normal, quote unquote, normal circumstances and conditions, this process is able to create enough L-glutamine to supply the body with all of its needs, like the cells, like the lymphocytes that are fueled enough to be able to do their job, or the brain. The brain can get all it needs, or the muscles. The muscles are nice and full of L-glutamine, and this is all under, quote unquote, normal circumstances. However, what happens when the body produces more of these cells that L-glutamine is used for energy? And what I mean is like immunity, white blood cells. When you're sick, when the body starts to create more of these, in times of sickness, the body's ability to produce L-glutamine cannot keep up with the supply of these extra cells. After finding this out, scientists argued in an article in the Journal of Nutrition that L-glutamine should actually be reclassified as a conditionally essential meaning that under certain conditions, there will be times that you will need to get extra in your diet. And you can't solely rely on the body to make it simply because the body's demand is being outpaced by the supply. Supplementing in cases like this, when you're sick, has been proven to be beneficial in helping those cells do their job and help the body fight off this sickness. And there's other times where the body is stretched thin in the same exact way. And here is where it applies more to us and our training. Well, in times of severe stress, the body becomes determined that the glutamine energy dependent cells, like the immunity cells that we just talked about, have the energy that they need. The body, it begins depleting its glutamine stores, which means where do you think that it gets that glutamine from? When you become sick and it needs more glutamine, or you have extra stress on the body and you need more glutamine, where does the body get that glutamine from? Yep, you got it. It destroys your precious muscle tissue to access the glutamine stored in the muscle. This is what we call catabolism. Anabolism is referred to when growth is happening, anabolic. Catabolism or catabolism is referred to when breakdown occurs. Breakdown. This can be brought up by illness, injury, or even when you're in a state of starvation. When we think about aggressive dieting, that's just state of starvation, right? So injury and starvation, it sounds a lot like what we do when we exercise for our body composition goals. And what does that do to our body on a smaller scale, right? Well, supplementing glutamine has been shown to preserve this muscle of people who have this type of stress on their body. So if we take this and put it in terms of things that are more applicable to our situation, if we think about a very hard workout session, that is in the form of an acute stress and injury to the muscle in the body. If you are also in a calorie deficit, maybe you're trying to cut or you're trying to lose body fat, well, then you're putting your body at risk of being L-glutamine depleted, which means a higher risk of getting sick or breaking down muscle or the inability to recover from the muscular damage from a high-intensity workout. So if you put significant stress on your body, based on the studies, L-glutamine supplementation will help you avoid becoming catabolic and help you fuel those cells that help in muscle recovery and overall boosting of your immune system function. Now, glutamine is found naturally in a variety of foods. It has been estimated that a typical diet contains 3 to 6 grams of glutamine per day. 3 to 6 grams. But this can vary based on your specific diet, of course. The largest amounts are found in animal products due to their high protein contents. However, some plant-based foods have a greater percentage of it in their protein. Here's a list of foods that are rich in glutamine: grass-fed beef, spirulina, Chinese cabbage, cottage cheese, asparagus, wild-caught fish like cod and salmon, venison, turkey, eggs, skim milk, tofu. And although some plant sources such as white rice and corn have a larger percentage of protein made up of the L-glutamine, they usually have fairly low protein contents overall. Therefore, meat and other animal products are the simplest way to get high amounts of it. When supplementing, they say take around 5 grams a day. Before or after training is the best dosage. One note before we finish up here is that I've been saying amino acids on this episode a ton, but you'll notice that branched chain amino acids, or better known as BCAAs, are nowhere on my top 5 list. Now, I personally used to take BCAAs every single day. I used to put them in my gallon of water that I carried everywhere, and I drank them throughout the day. That was until I started doing a little bit more research on them, and the research actually started to come out a little bit more. The main guy that I follow for stuff like this is a scientist who did his PhD in biochemistry and nutrition. He did a huge part of his studies on BCAAs, branched chain amino acids, and he was all about them at first. His name is Dr. Lane Norton, and he's a super famous fitness professional who is known for his crazy social media content where he calls out people in the health, fitness, and wellness space who are just out there to exploit those who don't know any better and are selling junk. He's actually really funny. Sometimes it goes a little too far, but his name is Dr. Lane Norton, LayneNorton. Anyways, he changed his muscle on BCAA consumption a little, and I decided to listen to his expertise and follow suit. He says, BCAAs, or I should quote this. He says, quote, BCAAs may have some applicability in specific situations, but for the vast majority of people, they probably aren't worth it. If you're getting really sore after training and it's impeding in between two really close training sessions, then maybe that person could benefit from BCAAs. There is research that indicates that BCAAs do reduce delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS, which we learned about earlier in all the way in episode 1 of this podcast. Also, those who do not get adequate protein intake, perhaps like some vegans, BCAAs may help enhance their protein quality that they do get. But for your average person who is eating enough high quality protein and isn't getting super sore after workouts and having trouble recovering, it's probably not worth the extra money. Now, in closing up this episode, here's the thing. Supplements are a single compound that have been demonstrated to yield some sort of benefit when you take it. And just like grain or lumber or food, a lot of these compounds can be purchased in bulk. They are commodities, and there isn't a lot of money to be made in selling them because the price is going to be set by the company that charges the least. Here's an example. If I make my own creatine to sell, and I try to sell my creatine at a higher price than what others are charging, well, no one's going to buy my product of creatine. Why would they do that? So what do I have to do in order to get people to buy my more expensive product? Well, I could either make claims that my product is a higher quality and offers more, or I can do what a lot of supplement companies do, and that is I can put multiple ingredients into what I call a proprietary blend. And this proprietary blend, I can be very secretive about how much of each ingredient I'm putting in because, well, I can argue that this specific formula is the only formula that's going to yield the best incredible results for you. Well, these companies that do this, that have a proprietary blend, they charge more than it would cost to just buy these ingredients separately, right? So my advice to you is to be very cautious whenever you're buying a supplement that has a proprietary blend that doesn't offer the exact amounts. And remember that even if there are exact amounts of the blend, there's a lot of skepticism out there at if even those numbers are even accurately tested or regulated. So just be careful. What I do personally, and what I recommend you do, is to take the compounds that have been studied and proven to work on their own and just buy all those ingredients separately. Make your own pre-workout and post-workout drinks. No, they're not going to be cotton candy, unicorn flavored. No, they're not going to have a sweet little scoop stirry thingy that automatically stirs your drinks without touching it. But yes, you're going to know exactly what's in your drink and how much of it. Plus, you'll get it at a fraction of the price long term. Sure, you're going to have to buy all these ingredients up front. And sure, it's a little more work and a little more tedious having to measure it and having to do your research. But your body should be something that you take great pride in. And knowing what you put into your body and what eventually becomes a part of you is important. Do your research. See what works for you through trial and error. And just because I say something works, or I show you a study that says the supplement is beneficial, this does not mean it's going to work for you. In the end, what is your goal? How can you get what you want from whole foods first? When you're ready to have a small 1 to 10% increase, which supplement works best for you? And then just start small. Less is more. If you can get benefit out of a smaller dose, then why would you not do that? Natural is best, of course. And only you are going to know if what you're taking is helping you attain that extra little push towards your fitness, health, and wellness goals. Or is it a waste of money? Next week's masterclass episode will be part 2 of this episode. We're going to go and explore supplements like vitamin D, fish oil, mushrooms like reishi, lion's mane, cordyceps, ashwagandha. We're going to go over vitamin C and supplements that I use for joint health, along with some new science when it comes to CBD supplementation and more. So stay tuned for that. All right, Dream Team, that's it for today. Please share with me any knowledge, thoughts, or questions you may have on today's topic. I'll make sure to answer and discuss on the next episode. You can ask your questions in the comments section or message me on any of the social media platforms. Also, I would be so thankful if you shared this episode with any of your friends or family that may be able to benefit from today's podcast. I would love it if you could do me a solid and screenshot this podcast and share it on your social media platforms and just write one takeaway, one aha moment that you got from this episode. This will help me know what's really valuable to you, and so I can keep the good information coming. And it also lets your network know if this podcast is worth a listen to them. Thank you so much for listening and learning here with us on the Livin the Dream podcast. We are so grateful for you being a part of this lifelong learning journey. If you have any topics you'd like to discuss, please let us know in the comments or by messaging me on Instagram at CoachDamien_SD. Be kind to someone today, smile at someone today, and leave every person you come into contact with better than before. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.